Welcome back for yet another episode of HBCU Man Cave, your safe space for men to relax, relate, relax, and release. I'm your host for today, Coach Wilmore. I'm still in the script of my brother, A. Brown. I'm a graduate of Jackson State, and tonight we're back with a very relatable topic, the impact of HBCU experience on male identity. To assist this convo, we have two brothers in the building that's going to give us some insight on their experience on HBCU campuses. Our first guest with stumping grounds in Florida, hailing from Bethune-Cookman, we have the educator, the speaker, the mentor, the entertainer, A. Harris Brown. Y'all shout out A. Harris Brown. Thank you, brother. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Glad to have you. Our second guest, entrepreneur and graduate of North Carolina A&T, Brother Daniel Bryan. Brother Bryan, thank you again for showing up for us.
Yeah, it's always a blessing to be on the call and fellowship.
Most definitely, most definitely. Y'all like, comment, follow, share, shout out, and show some love to our guests in the chat. We're going to have a great conversation on tonight, which will revolve around at least 3 questions. Our first question that we're looking into, how did your HBCU experience influence your views on social justice, activism, and community involvement? Our second question will look a little something like this. How did attending an HBCU affect your understanding and appreciation of Black history and culture? Our third question, what role did campus organizations such as fraternities, SGA, 101 Black Men, or others play in shaping your leadership skills and identity? That's going to be our focus on today. Let's sit back, relax, and get real on this episode of HBCU Man Cave, where we come to relate, relax, and release. Make sure y'all like, comment, follow, share, and invite your folks to this conversation. Now, we're going to go ahead and jump into our convo. But before we do that, me being the historian, I got to give y'all some context. So,
come on, break it down, come on.
you a fool, man. When we think about activism on HBCU campuses, for me personally, I think about Howard University in the 1930s, how students were individually protesting by wearing nooses on their neck to protest lynching. I think about the Greensboro Four, how they kickstarted sit-ins at North Carolina A&T. I also think about the first March on Washington, initiated by a Cookman grad, not to be confused with Bethune-Cookman, but Cookman, the first Black institution for higher education up in Florida. A. Philip Randolph, he's the one who initiated the first March on Washington. He's a graduate of Cookman Institute. I even think about the Montgomery bus boycott and how Joanne Gibson Robinson, a lot of people think that Joanne Gibson Robinson was, they think that Martin Luther King was the brains behind the Montgomery bus boycott, but it was actually a professor, a woman actually from Alabama State, Joanne Gibson Robinson, who was the brains behind the Montgomery bus boycott. So we got all this HBCU and activism going on at or from HBCU graduates or on specifically that campus. And so this leads me to question number 1. How did your HBCU experience influence your views on social justice, activism, and community involvement?
Wow. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna jump in. I'm about to dive in. No, I'm kidding. Let's see. Listen, first of all, let me shout out, and I'm gonna go old school real quick. And I remember I'm gonna go to the movie School Days. Homecoming weekend. Dap and his friends, right?
Yeah.
You know, they went to the step show Friday night, but they was kicking it. But Dap was like, "But what are y'all gonna be there Saturday morning?"
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Oh, we down, but right now we about to go kick it real quick." And I remember being in school at Bethune-Cookman. There were many days where Saturday morning, we're out, whether it was, you saw the fraternities, the sororities, SGA, just the civil groups, and we were all up Saturday morning doing some type of community action. Whether we were doing something, down at the neighborhood community center, we out passing out, especially during election time. We out walking the neighborhood, making sure people got registered to vote. We were just advocating and just educating for African American rights, or just for education in general, and specifically about lifting up the work of HBCUs and Bethune Cookman in the neighborhood. But the fact that it was instilled right there was time for play, but there was also time for work. And that's where we able to extend the learning from the classroom, you know, and be able to, like, you heard about all these things and these civil rights movements and things of that. I mean, I remember having a white man teach me Black history. Like, how he know about Black history?
Yep.
Until he sat down and broke it down. He was like, bruh, I was there during the civil rights movement. I was there with King, and the people like, oh snap, he was there. I'm like, what can he do, man? But let me shut up and listen to what you're talking about.
Yep.
So that was I think that helped build some sense of community, sense of building capacity, and just self-worth, and be able to really help me shape what I wanted to do once I graduated, and be able to give back to the community. That's what I.
That was powerful right there. That's wisdom. That's wisdom. And I definitely agree with everything that you said. And I actually see it play out as well, like in my classrooms, how professors are, how they teach, and they teach from a different perspective. They teach from a perspective of putting us within that event, putting us within that, bringing that emotion, and I think that's so important, with our generation of us really understanding what took place, right? And I think also another thing you talked about capacity and how now universities have so many more resources now than they did before. You know, I think back to going to the civic and leadership engagement office now. We have different offices, different functions now within campuses now where service is now available for everybody. So there's
Mm-hmm.
never the excuse to say, well, I don't know if where can I play a role? What can I do? There's always something for you to do, to continue the fight, to continue the push in whatever, arena that you feel that you can play in. And so I think that's what uh, empowers students today, recent grads today, that empowers us to know that, even from all the way back then when resources were limited, they still fought. They still pressed on. They still made a way. They were still
Come
able to,
on.
to communicate, to bring fellowship together, and really to plan out and to really engage in the community and have those critical conversations when resources were limited. And so now when we're pushed into an arena where we have everything at our disposal, when we have social media, when we have the ability to connect with each other, around states. I can talk to my brothers at Alabama State, at North Carolina Central, at up in Pennsylvania. I can talk to anybody and everybody now. And so the excuse of not knowing, or not knowing if I'm, or we're going to talk about identity and imposter syndrome later on, but I think now that's kind of breaking down that wall of we all have that opportunity to serve.
I like that last sentence that you stated. We all have the opportunity to serve. Man, I think about before I transferred to Jackson State. I ran track at Lincoln University of Missouri, not to be confused with PA. But I ran at Lincoln, and then I was also part of the Marching Musical Storm, part of the Collegiate 100. Man, I had so many opportunities. Like, I was literally ingrained in service. With the Marching Musical Storm, definitely had our community service hours with pledging, track and field. On the side, we had our communities. Like, we were literally ingrained. And I think about what A. Brown talked about with his professors. Man, I had a white history professor. His name was Mr. Professor Bardot. I'll never forget him. White guy. And he taught us so much Black history. And I kind of used to scratch my head at him because I'm like, man, I need somebody that look like me teaching me this history. Like, what is he teaching me that I know for a fact other people have more to, like, what is he leaving out in this conversation? That's like my first thought was, but he actually uh, gave us some very life-changing history, and I remember his name for a reason. You know, it's a lot of history professors I've had, but I remember his name for a reason, and so that was somebody who I know definitely played a part in my development of um, community, social justice, and activism. Let me pop in this chat. Selena Jada, she said, I didn't know that regarding Howard. Y'all follow her. That's a major factor. Shout out to her, Selena Jada. I see Y Parker 02. I learned something new. Who else in the chat?
I
Uh,
like what intelligent 1025 said. He said Dylan showed them how to nurture and build self based on the history.
yeah, yeah.
He was just talking about some of the facts we shared earlier about just making the classroom relevant
Mm-hmm.
when we went out and did this social action.
Man, it's so important to make the classroom relevant and to also just connect the dots, man. A lot of students today, just with me being a history professor, this is my baby. I love history so much, and so I make sure that we connect the dots. Like, we turn our history into a reality. How does this affect me today, and how will it affect me in the future? I'm gonna shut up and go on to question two because I can talk about this all day,
Oh, y'all listen. Because that Coach Wilmore will take you there. Listen, y'all got to follow this brother. He will drop some history and some gems on you. I'm sorry, I had to do a quick little shameless plug.
y'all. Bro, we're gonna hit question two. Now, the H in HBCU, as we know, stands for historically. It's the essence of who we are. It takes me back to 19. Here we go with some history. 1920, Carter G. Woodson and Omega Psi Phi at their conclave during that year, where they initiated Negro History and Literature Achievement Week, which Carter G. Woodson would take upon himself to create and evolve from that. Negro History Week, as we know, would turn into Black History Month. And for those that don't know, Carter G. Woodson was also a professor at Howard University. He was fired from Howard University, trying to radicalize his student with a specific revolutionary text. And earlier, I also talked about Lincoln University. Like, before I transferred to Jackson State, Lincoln University had actually stripped their history program, which is why I transferred. And so it goes to show you the realistic battles we face even in our own spaces while trying to obtain important and or our own history. With that being said, how was your understanding or appreciation of Black history and culture affected by attending an HBCU?
Go on, Daniel. I'm going to let you jump in first on that one, bro.
For me, I think it was life changing, it was transformative, and it was elevating. It was going into college. In high school, K through 12, you kind of have a small glimpse of what Black history is. You get your couple weeks of in history class and social studies, learning mostly just about slavery. That's about it. And so you don't really get a full understanding of the achievements and the advancements of Black people. And going into college, um, without having that prior knowledge, you're kind of just like a sponge, just trying to soak up all you can, just knowledge base wise. And so going into A&T and going into a mandatory gen ed class of African American studies, and having that central focus on not only on the struggle and the things that we went through, right? The hate that was towards our group, but then also the advancements and the achievements, right? You put a different light of your people. You put your people in a different light now. Now you begin to see, okay, well, what can I do? Right? I can do that too. I can achieve this. And so it just shifted my mindset. It elevated what I thought of not only myself but then also my people, my counterparts. And so that's why I thought, that HBCU, making it a gen ed class, something that you have to take, making that history mandatory in our curriculum was so important. And I think it serves justice for all students that attend HBCUs. Because it's a part of our development. And a lot of students don't get that coming in. And so having that in place, like I said, it really truly elevated, how I thought about myself, about my people, and also my history, and how we can move to the future.
Man, that takes me to Jackson State, Dr. Lackey. I know anybody online that went to Jackson State, for a fact, y'all know who Dr. Lackey is, man. His class and Professor Bounds, both of those guys, man, life changing experiences. And I Professor Bounds, man, he follows me on TikTok, and it was crazy. He was shouting out some history that I was dropping. I'm like, man, like he probably don't even remember who I was, but like he influenced me so heavily while I was at Jackson State. And I told him, like, man, what you taught me at Jackson State is what like I still take with me in my class to this day.
Yes.
So I used to be a history professor at Denmark Tech. And with this question specifically, well, I see Jazzy QMD, he posed this question in the chat. He said, what will we lose if our black males do not go and experience the life of the HBCU because of the question, is college still relevant? So that got me thinking while I was at a professor at Denmark Tech, I ran into so many issues with young black males not understanding the investment of college. And not that college is for everybody, but if you're going to be there, what are you going to get out of it?
Mm,
That's it.
okay. And I was looking at a comment, and someone said Jazzy QMD said colleges is not being promoted for you if you want a secondary profession such as medical school, law school, engineering, but those that go don't think they'll miss out. Do you think they will miss out? And that's a good question. We're gonna come back. I want to make sure I acknowledge your question, but I want to go back to to your original question and talk about the significance of this whole idea of. I love the fact we talk about the historically. Okay, understand Black College and University, and and that meant so much more to me once I got to Bethune, and once I started to learn more about other HBCUs history and legacy. That we've been here, and we've had some monumental strides, right at the turn of right after the Civil War, and at the celebration of the Juneteenth, once we got the word that we was all free. And we decided, oh, we want to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to thank you for those. I'm going to shout out to the Quakers. I'm just going to just say the Quakers. I'm going to keep it general.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for helping us out because, sometimes it takes a village. And it's interesting enough. Now, this is the thing about this thing about history. Now, I'm not the history buff like Coach is here. So, he may have, he probably going to chime in and give you a little bit more. But I love when we're able to share this type of historical perspective, especially to our young people or to high school students or to someone who just does not know about, again, especially when we get to those places and spaces where we're in a place where someone will say, well, why would you want to go to one of those schools?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean, those schools?
Right.
Which really takes that just grinds my gears. And I said, well, wait a minute now. We're just historically Black because we couldn't go to any other school.
Yep.
Let's just be clear about this thing. But again, had it not been for, the A&Ts and the Bethunes and the Jackson States and the Miles Colleges and the Morehouse and the Spelmans and so on and so forth, we wouldn't even be here, to be able to really make these advancements. I love what W.E.B. Du Bois once said, and I'm a paraphrase. He said, had it not been for the Negro College and School, the Negro would, for all intent and purpose, been driven back into slavery. Had it not been, for us to get this thing started at Cheney University and then down the street at Lincoln University, PA, and then then the next thing over at Wilberforce University, had it not been for these schools and for that drive and be able to say, we can do better,
Yep.
and we can establish who we are, whose we are, and where we're trying to go to.
Yeah.
I love to be in those spaces and places where I'm able to talk and share with other people about historically. That's because that's what our history shared with us. But we're not going to deny where we came from. Yet we go celebrating all the advancements. And again, I always tell my students, if you want to go to the Ohio State University, if you want to go to the University of Miami, if you want to go to UCLA, that's fine, great. Go represent, do what you got to do, but understand where you came from and those who had to pave the way to get you where you are today, because we couldn't go there at one time.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna turn our noses up. We not about to do that. Because I think as African Americans, if there's two things that we really own and we can control and impact and support, it's the black church and the black school.
Mm-hmm. The
And
main
as
two.
long as people understand that,
Yep.
we'll be a whole lot better.
I'm saying, man, that takes me to when I was a kid, man. Me being from Kansas City, Missouri, the two, so Harris-Stowe in St. Louis, and of course Lincoln University in Jeff City, Missouri. But I didn't know about those colleges until high school. But as a kid, I'm watching TV and I'm rooting for your University of Kansas's and your Mizzou's. Like those are the schools that I've always known as a kid, but I didn't get introduced to HBCUs until I was really in high school. I know my uncles, aunties, cousins, they went to Southern University. My other uncle went to Lincoln University, Missouri, but like my mind was so, I didn't make that connection until it was almost too late. And so going back to the how attending an HBCU can culturally develop you, I just think about all the opportunities that I could have missed out on had I not attended an HBCU,
Yes.
especially being a black male. And I'm gonna say this: I really hate the conversation that people bring up when they try to minimize the impact of HBCUs as if you can't learn how to be a diverse human by going to an HBCU just because
I'm sorry,
you
I gotta.
school is
Woo!
majority black people. I see Snoop Dogg on TV right now. This man is a whole the way, if you understand Snoop Dogg's background and you watch how he interacts with other cultures, you would think that the way that people speak, that if you aren't ingrained in a diverse culture, specifically in college, that you can't interact with diverse people. And that's totally not true. When you look at all these different HBCU grads who have clearly exhibited those qualities. And that's just one aspect of HBCU culture that that people try to minimize. Y'all like, share, invite people to join out, comment. Yeah, this the HBCU Man Cave, HBCU impact on male identity. I'm trying to pick up on my A. Brown, man. I tried to like you,
I
brother.
love it, bro. I love it. I'm sitting here while you're talking. I'm sitting here. I'm on my iPad. I'm just sitting there. I'm just like, hey, good conversation. Y'all better get on over here.
Y'all better get on over here, man. We having good conversation. Brian, what you got, man?
um about that diversity, I think sometimes that gets so like, you know, it's said in such a broad term, right? And it seemed like, there's not, diversity in subunits within a HBCU. If you go to a campus, if you go to your respective campus, I'm sure that you will meet so many people that is different from you, from different backgrounds, different cultures within the black realm. And so we can't just, categorize diverse as just black, white, and by race. There's so much more to diversity, and there's so much more to learn about yourself and about other cultures. And that's what I think A&T afforded me, being one of the largest schools, public HBCUs. You get people from all over the country and even out of the country. And so I've met friends, lifelong bonds with people that I never thought that I would interact with, right? But that was because of an HBCU. I think of my school as a bridge that connects me with hope and prosperity. And so I get to meet so many people, people that have different backgrounds, people that I learn from. And so we can never get to the point where we think that we don't need education. We
Yeah,
can never get to that point, or we never need a, a system or a location where all people that are one common goal and all who want to be educated. If we say we don't need that, then we're in big
yeah.
trouble.
That's absolutely. We having a great conversation. Y'all like, share, comment. Shout out your guests in the chat, man. We digging real deep into this HBCU episode of the impact of male identity on HBCU campuses. I'm gonna throw in an extra question because we're gonna have a little bit of extra time today.
Oh yeah, come on, bring it.
I want to know, how did your interactions with professors, mentors, and peers at your HBCU contribute to your sense of self and confidence? Your interactions with professors, mentors, and peers, how did that help affect and develop your identity?
Listen, I think building relational trust with these like-minded individuals open doors beyond the classroom. I mean, being able to sit down with my college president, just him walking on campus, and he wasn't like somebody who was untouchable. I mean, I was at school, I'm with Dr. Oliver Perry Bronson, he'll come and sit on the yard with us and just chop it up because he's an alum. He was also an alum. So he's lived this experience with us. So it's like, oh, when I sat here, like, what do you mean when you sat here? You know what I'm saying? And that meant the world to know that you understand.
Yeah.
You get it. There was a connectivity that we could go beyond just, I mean, I'm going to still respect him because he's the college president, but the fact that, okay, here's somebody, he's human just like the rest of us. And being able to make those genuine connections. Come on, Jazz. He was like, what did he just say? Hold on, I just saw a comment. And professors, teachers, club sponsors instill pride and uplift for me. That part. Be able to have those connections. I remember now, Dr. I'm gonna shout him out. Dr. Accolade, Jonathan Accolade. He's the retiring. He just retired from, I want to say, North Carolina Central University. He was my professor and academic advisor at Bethune. But for him to be able to just to take the time out, there would be days when he'll just like, okay, it would be a class of 5 of us, and we'll just leave and go to the beach and have class. Or we'll go to his house and his wife would just cook dinner and he'll have class. Just to build those authentic relationships where, you wanted to continue the conversation beyond the classroom, made it so real.
I wanna plug in real quick. I seen a question in the chat by Nigel.m/13. He said, how do you connect and build those relationships with professors if 95% of them are white? Because this is something I am struggling with at my school. Can y'all chime in?
Oh, Nigel, man. Wait a minute. First of all, side note, somebody called me up. Nigel, I would say, oh no, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna get out the way and let y'all talk. Even with the less melanated individuals, there's still a connection that can happen there. I remember, listen, one of my best friends in college was a white girl. And I ain't got no against nobody. I love everybody. And everybody love me. That's just how I'm gonna put it. And I think that it's important that you find the connection, even with someone that doesn't always look like you. I feel like this. Even the villain has a backstory.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna leave it at that because we're in the election year. Now, I don't know, and I ain't here to tell you who to vote for. I almost said you better go out and vote for something.
He would have chimed in on that.
Okay, but even the villain has a backstory, and with that, maybe there's something in that storyline. There's a connection, and where you can still have that philosophical debate, and that we can agree to disagree, but I can still respect and hear your views. All right, I'm gonna shut up. Because they say uncle out here yapping and saying, "Come on, somebody."
Yeah. Well, Nigel, I would, share with you, I actually dealt with that having white professors as well for some of my classes. And one thing that you have in common right off the bat is you both at the same school, so you can always go, what led you to come to my HBCU to teach. Go into their background. Like you said, maybe ask about, how did you get into the profession of of teaching or whatever course he teaches. What drove you to want to give back to students. Find those common questions. Think about, if you're interviewing for an internship or if you're interviewing for a job, right? You kind of preset, questions that you may think they may ask you, and also questions you want to ask them, and do that with all your relationship building tactics. Make sure that you have questions set up to ask that's going to be able to prolong the conversation, right? Something that's going to get them to talk, right? People love talking about themselves, right? People love talking about themselves. So if you can get them to say, hey, can you just share what's your background? What school did you go to? What led you to go into this field? They're going to start yapping and yapping and yapping and just tell you their whole life story. And then from that point, you have what you need to be able to, further the conversation or even further the relationship. So, use that to your advantage. Don't, be don't I don't want to say shy, but don't feel like just because you can't, physically see the commonalities that there's none there, right?
Yeah.
Make sure that you do your part in reaching out, right? That's one thing that I learned, throughout my college career that, sometimes you got to be the one to reach
Yeah.
out, right? Everybody's not going to come to you. Not everybody's going to come dap you up, ask you how your day is. Sometimes you have to initiate the conversation. So, um, break down that barrier of not knowing the commonalities about physical appearance and go talk to somebody, have a conversation.
Man, that was a great response, man. I give that 10 out of 10. Look, man, one thing that I absolutely hate black people who love to play that victim role. We are not victims, man. And so when it comes to building relationships, and I know there are some white teachers who may have you scratching your head on campus because I had one or two of them myself. But um, first things first, hate is wasted energy. Don't go into no classroom with a white professor thinking, man, this is HBCU. I need me a black professor, or like, don't come in there with negative thoughts because that's what your reality is going to give you, negativity. Always be open-minded to building those relationships. I know sometimes a lot of us who go to HBCUs, we have that closed off mind. But there's so many other opportunities out there, not just with our people, but other people. And so, once again, hate is wasted energy, y'all. And there's so many other people out here on HBCU campuses who are so willing to help you out. And
Yes.
keep that open mindset, move with love, and what D. Brian said, man, everything that he stated, right on point. And just continue to build those relationships.
All right, and let me say real quick, shout out to Nigel, '06, bro, '06. I just had to throw that in real quick. Sorry.
Oh,
Somebody talked about the red shirt. Listen, I just had to throw on a quick shirt, because typically I would be wearing red, but I can make any color look good. But Nigel, I just had to follow you I had to follow you back. Hey, don't forget, like the coach said, like, comment, follow, subscribe, share. Listen, follow, we will follow back.
that's right.
Be part of the conversation. I'm out here. I'm working. I'm outside. I'm working the room, y'all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And, y'all, we zoning in on our last question. But some more historical context, y'all. During
Oh, here we
slavery,
go.
in some freedmen towns, it was common for black folk to unofficially vote and elect a town mayor and other community positions, since legally we could not participate. So we've always had that sense of self-identification. In addition, we know that there were, I want to say, about 20 black fraternities, but 3 out of the 5 Divine Nine fraternities were originated on HBCU campuses. Even though there were earlier influences, you can go back as late as ancient Ethiopia and find precursors and similar structures that would evolve into what you see today as black fraternities. So we've always been visionary and innovative. With that thought, it leads me to ask our last question. What role did campus organizations such as fraternities, the SGA, 101 Black Men, etc., what did these organizations, or how did they play a role in the shaping of your leadership skills and identity?
I think. Oh, okay.
You always know just what to say.
Hold on a second. Echo, stop. My bad, y'all. My Alexa just starts talking. You said something that triggered. Go ahead, Doc. Go ahead, bro.
I think for me, it gave me the opportunity to feel like I was enough to start an organization. So at my time at A&T, I was able to create my own community service organization that had representation from all HBCUs or from multiple HBCUs around the country. And so seeing what they were doing in the community, seeing how they were, interacting with each other, the organization, I was looking at those type of things, how they were organized, how they had everything in place, right? When they did their events, everything was to a T. And how much investment the students had into it. They took pride in it, and when you see that from an outside point of view, that kind of gives you the empowerment that's needed to be able to say, hey, I can create my own. And that's something that I think a lot of students should start to look at, right? You see these organizations on campus, these clubs and stuff. Explore how you can create something, right? Because that's something that I think we oftentimes put on the back burner is our own creativity, right? Right. We're in this place where we're being molded, we're learning, we're getting all this knowledge, but let's make sure that we're transferring that knowledge that we're learning into something and implementing into something, right? Making sure that you're putting something back into yourself. And so for me, it was creating my own community service organization that was tailored for community service entrepreneurs, and that brought me the most joy. That brought me the most joy because I saw the impact of seeing what my other brothers and sisters were doing on campus and what the school was doing and their initiative and how much they invested into community. That empowered me to do the same in the different communities that I serve. And so take that acknowledgement, take that empowerment that you see from other people, and use it as motivation, use it as something that can get you started into your path, right? And yeah, that's what I would say. It definitely kickstarted what I wanted to do in my life.
Yes, sir.
Um, let's see. I want to say, wait, I had a thought. Oh, here we go. So, wait a minute. I'm trying to get the right words. How good it is, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity.
Yeah.
Come on, somebody. Let me go Bible. Let me go Bible real. I'm in Bible country right now.
Dwell.
It doesn't matter whether it doesn't matter what fraternity you may be a part of, or the Me Phi Me's, or anybody else. I think it's something powerful when we can gather together, men unacquainted, enter, gather, shake hands, and we can depart as friends. Shout out, I see the one brother in here, from that other organization, from that other fraternity. What was it? What y'all say? What they say? Hold on, because I want to make sure I'm saying it right. Manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. Okay, I'm gonna give you that one now. With the fact that we all have our different walks of life, yet I think it's this synergy when we can come together, and to really just empower and impact. I think these organizations on campus meant a world of good. To be able to show that there is something better. You can always do what you do, but there's always a better way of how we attack and how we approach certain things. And it's only when we have these courageous conversations, when we start to think beyond just the norm, when we are able to challenge the perspective of others, when we're able to provide impact and engagement to our community, is when we can grow and do better. I think that for me, I think it's just I was just interested because I was having a conversation the other day because someone said, well, Anthony, why did you choose, how did you get involved with the fraternity and Alpha Phi Alpha? And I was like, I just, for me, I was always looking to align myself with what I had, the values that they believed in. I think every fraternity or men's group, be it, the 100, the Boule, the Masons, we all have very similar attributes. You just find the one that gravitates to you the most, and you find like, okay, how can I make impact? It's not about, again, someone said, it's not about what they can do for me, but what I can do for them,
Yep.
and how I can help open doors and provide this continual impact, and growth and opportunity. And so with that, I appreciated my exposure to all of the different types of all the Divine Nine members and all the other organizations on campus that was really, we all had our own agendas, but there were times where we were able to overlap and cross paths, and like, how could we build a better community? At the end of the day, that's all about it, is building a better community. I'm gonna go back again and say it's election year, y'all. Get
Man.
out, vote. Make sure you register to vote. Make sure your family registered to vote. Make sure y'all got the right election. Know where your election poll, where you're supposed to go vote at. Make sure you got your ID current, because they out here trying to find every excuse in the world.
I'm saying.
I early vote.
Yep.
Organize, strategize, put together some campaigns, do a whole early vote community, in your neighborhood. I'm sorry. See, this is the organization. This is the strategies they don't want us to talk about. They don't want us to talk about this.
It's real.
But there's ways we can make an impact. But I think that this type of impact on who we are, again, I can go back to who we are and whose we are, is where we can really make a significant difference, and support and uplift us as males.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, and that was some great knowledge, man. I think about my experience with, so I grew up with what, 8 sisters. 8 sisters, 2 brothers, and my pops transitioned when I was 5 years old. And so when I got into college, I said, man, I'm gonna surround myself around some like-minded brothers. And the unity, the knowledge, the support, the safe spaces, the networking, all of that came from the organization that I joined while I was in college. And so everything that I did during my tenure is pretty much what set my foundation up for my post-collegiate career. And so I thank everyone who played a part in my development, because there was a lot of people that helped me out, man. A lot of guidance that I acquired from Black men when I didn't have nowhere to go. You know what I'm saying? And I know we all done been there before. When you ain't had nowhere to go, you got one of your tools that you can call on the late night, and you can, express your thoughts and your concerns, and they'll be there for you. And I appreciate those brothers for that. So that's my sentiment. Y'all fellas got anything else?
No, listen, I know you said it right there. I think that's the biggest thing, is just make sure that we are able to identify who these people are and how they're going to help. And again, not trying to take away, but just continue to add value.
Yeah. Now, before we close out, that was our last question. Before we close out, I want to give these fellas a quick moment to tell a little bit more about themselves and what they do. D. Brian, you want to go first?
Sure. Once again, my name is Daniel Bryant. I'm the owner and creator of Me, Motivated and Empowered. I do public speaking, motivational speaking, and community uplift. And I continue just to look how I can continue to touch my community. And so also graduate of North Carolina A&T State University, spring of 2024. So still continuing to look how I can, empower my community.
All right, then, come on, D. Brian, I'm here for it. Let's go. So, hey, everybody, what's really good? What's happening? It's your boy, it's your friend, it's your uncle, it's your best friend, and we outside. Listen.
Yes.
I always say that now. Let me tell you why I'm saying that now. So, I had the fortunate pleasure of being a spokesperson, a voice, an advocate for many organizations, for uplift, empowerment, especially for the Black male educator, for HBCUs, for young people and the like, or, various different causes. Most recently, I lended my voice and face and likeness to a campaign called Donate Life Ohio. This month is also National Minority Donor month, where I was trying to encourage African Americans to think about organ donation. So eye tissue organ donation. So I had a chance to work for the company here in Ohio called Life Bank. And I literally say when I'm outside, I'm outside. I did, they got me on commercials, social media posts. I'm on buses. I'm on billboards all across the state of Ohio. I didn't even know. They're like, they didn't even tell you, boys. I knew I was in the commercial. I didn't know it was gonna be outside. So I'm riding down the street. I'm like, is that me on the billboard? But it's just a pleasure to be able to share that kind of information with families because you never know. Because you never know, because that organ that you might be able to donate can be life saving for somebody. My mother, unfortunately, she passed away, but she had kidney failure, and if she could have just maybe if someone had been, if she was on the list and found the kidney, maybe I could still be with her today and still love on her and hold her. But it wasn't the case for her. But maybe you might be in a position, or maybe it's a skin graft or anything that you might be able to help the next person, because you never know. So think about it. I would say do some research, then decide, because especially for the minority community, it's very much a serious situation. So that's one of the several things that I do, but that's the most recent thing that I'm doing right now.
Man, y'all show some love in the chat for our guests on today. Very distinguished brothers who gave us some great knowledge on their experience on HBCU campuses during their tenure during their undergrad. I'm Coach Wilmore, history educator, author, coach track and field. I do a whole bunch of things, but I ain't gonna. Oh, I do have a shameless plug, man. Y'all go to Historically Black Sense bio. It's a link in the bio. Y'all click that link if you are a graduate or current student of Jackson State. It should be a link in that bio that gives you a survey, because I'm writing a book right now on the history of Jackson State from 1970 to present day. I need some people to interview. So if y'all know anybody who attended Jackson State or who goes to Jackson State at this moment, y'all follow me, give me your information. I'm once again Coach Wilmore. I'm trying to get this book done. I need some people to interview, so holla at me. Yes, sir.
Hey, Coach, one more thing I do want to shout out real quick. Shout out to Maurice Jordan with the game. Oh my gosh, I wish I had the game. I can't find it. The HBCU trivia game. Listen, you got to get this game. Yo, I got these quick statement plugs in here, right? You got to get a copy of this game. It's called the HBCU Trivia Game. It's a great resource to be able to engage with alumni, students, families, parents. Listen, hit me up. Follow me on Instagram. Hit me up in my DM. I will provide you more information, even the promo code, so you can get a copy. It's a board game, and it's a lot of fun. Also, I want to shout out again the good brother Upsides Fashion in San Antonio, Texas. The brother was on the chat. He said, Anthony, drop me your address. I want to send you something. Again, I will, pardon my shameless plug, I will wear your clothes. If you want to send any of your boys on this screen a shirt, we will advertise for you. I ain't too proud to beg. I'm an equal opportunity HBCU alum. I'll wear everybody.
That's right.
Just about. Wait, I got one school. I was told I can never wear their shirt ever again. My alumni, they about put me out in the pasture. But besides that one school,
Yeah.
I'll wear everybody else's. Last thing I want to share, Coach, before we get up out of here, next week, y'all, next week's topic, August 11th, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, same place, same channel. I need you to, what's up, George?
The
My
white George.
God! No, oh, White George, come on! Everybody call me old White George. Y'all know White George is. I'm just gonna call him. George out here networking in the community, learning all about HBCU. He's like, listen, this is all brand new to me. That's the good brother. Anyway, want to say next week, We are talking about, again, in this safe space where men relate, relax, and release. Next week's topic is about, we're going to discuss overcoming the imposter syndrome. We're going to explore persuasive feelings about self-doubt and inadequacy and how that impacts our personal and professional lives. So make sure you are here next week for another great conversation.
Listen, y'all, it's one where we gotta run.
Yeah.
I'll let y'all live.
All right, y'all take it easy.
All right, y'all.